Oh, look, I can accept the fact that he's gay, but why does he have to slip a ring on this guy's finger so the whole world will know?
Maybe you've seen this episode of The Golden Girls that explained marriage equality to America over 2 decades before it was legalized. The show did something amazing here. Not only did it teach America how to be a friend to gay people, it also introduced millions of viewers to topics like coming out and gay marriage, while also slipping in a message of queer empowerment. All aboard and welcome to Matt Baum's Culture Cruise, where we take a look at queer milestones in movies, on TV, in games, and more. On this voyage, we're taking a look at the time that Blanche's gay brother taught the Golden Girls, and America, a lesson about coming out and getting married. The cruise is made possible through the support of folks like Gary Cannon, who pledge $1 or more a month on Patreon. Visit the link in the description or patreon.com/mattbaum to help support the show. The Golden Girls' adventure in homosexuality starts with the 1988 episode Scared Straight. Blanche's brother Clayton is coming for a visit, and he's like her in every way, including some that she doesn't quite know about yet. When the episode starts, they're preparing to welcome Clayton to the house, and Rose is eager to put out the welcome mat.
We don't have a welcome mat. What about the one Dorothy says is at the foot of your bed?
Clayton is very suave and very southern and very gay, but nobody knows that yet because he's scared to come out. For now, Blanche just wants to set him up on dates.
Oh, well, I've done a little matchmaking.
Blanche, not again.
Yes, again.
And off Clayton goes to the park with a beard named Lois. Blanche stays behind to offer Dorothy some romance tips that are not great.
Did you know that if you blow right on the tip of a man's earlobe, it can drive him absolutely crazy?
As a man with an earlobe, I can confirm that this would, in fact, drive me crazy, in that I would be like, what are you doing? Anyway, she goes on to demonstrate this strange heterosexual mating ritual, and Sophia catches them. Sophia's B-plot this week is that she's convinced she's about to die, but before she goes, she's got a little casual homophobia for the girls.
I'm gonna be dead in 24 hours. Couldn't you stay in the closet for one more day?
Remember that line, because family rejection of queer people is going to come up again very, very soon. It's not a very nice joke, but we know Sophia doesn't mean it, because in an episode about Dorothy's lesbian friend 2 seasons earlier, she said this.
If one of my kids was gay, I wouldn't love him one bit less. I would wish him all the happiness in the world.
It's because you're the greatest mother in the world, and I love you.
Fine. Now keep your fat mouth shut so I can get some sleep.
I have another video about that episode. You can find it on my YouTube channel. The Golden Girls has always been a great show for LGBT characters, with the possible exception of how their gay butler vanished after the pilot, and we're about to see Blanche learn an important lesson about how to treat queer family. But first, we fade to the park, where Clayton's ditched his date and runs into Rose. They sit for a moment and admire the scenery, and that's when Rose notices that Clayton's admiring one particular part of the scenery more than others.
That's a man and you're a man. You're both men.
This is my favorite trope of very special gay episodes, straight people who just don't get it until it's blindingly obvious. Rose was here 2 seasons ago in the lesbian episode.
I'm quite fond of you.
I'm fond of you too.
So she catches on a lot faster this time.
Clayton, you're that thing that everyone said Olga Larson's nephew was because he wore paisley clogs and gave out puff pastry on Halloween.
And Clayton comes clean.
Yeah, I'm gay, Rose.
He's surprisingly forthcoming with her, given the times. This aired in 1988, a very dark point in the HIV epidemic. There was a tremendous stigma around being gay, since it was closely associated with the virus that was killing thousands of people. There was a ton of misinformation and ignorance then. A lot of Americans thought that they could get a deadly disease just by being near gay people. Various states were thinking about forcibly quarantining anyone who tested positive, and violence against gay people was widespread. Earlier that year, a man in Texas was convicted of murdering 2 gay men, but the judge reduced his sentence because his victims were gay. So in that climate, it's very brave of Clayton to come out to Rose, but he can't quite muster the courage to do the same with Blanche.
Well, have you tried telling her?
Every time I see her, and I always chicken out.
In 1988, if you came out to your family, they might refuse to ever talk to you again. In fact, for all the progress we've made in the last 30 years, that's still the case for a lot of people. Family rejection has always been a huge risk when coming out, and when this episode aired, there was even more fear and ignorance and violence than there is today. But Rose believes in the goodness of her friend.
I know, Blanche. I mean, she'd be upset, but not for long. And just think how it would help you two in the long run.
It takes a few attempts for Clayton to really come out.
Well, I ran into Rose in the park, and we slept together tonight.
Okay, try again.
I'm gay, Blanche.
Congratulations, Clayton, you did it, and your timing is perfect. This episode aired just a few weeks after the very first National Coming Out Day. In 1988, coming out was literally a matter of life and death. There was widespread stigma and violence against LGBT people, and it was vital to show that LGBTs were everywhere, were a part of everyone's family, and weren't a threat. Coming Out Day was a brand new idea when this episode aired, an organized effort to make queer people visible like they never had been before. It was a powerful way to prove that queer people are a part of everyone's family, and to show Americans that anti-LGBT attitudes hurt people they care about. It's huge that this conversation is happening on a show watched by millions of people. The episode's doing double duty. It's letting countless gay people know that they're not alone, and it's also introducing millions of straight people to the very concept of coming out, something they would never otherwise even think about. And it's all happening thanks to the encouragement of Rose, who I just have to point out puts on full makeup and jewelry to sit at home and read a cat magazine to herself. Anyway, Blanche is stunned by the news about her brother.
I just feel like I don't know you anymore.
But soon enough, they understand each other.
You used to be just like me.
What? Great looking,
Yes,
charming,
yes.
irresistible to men?
My God, Clayton, you are me.
Clayton was right that things might change between them, but it never occurred to him that they might change for the better, that they might understand each other in a way they'd been missing out on for years.
I spent a long time lying to myself. It felt a lot better when I stopped. It feels better being honest with you, too.
Blanche has a lot of traditional Southern values, and that includes a conservatism when it comes to sex, which is a bit rich considering how much of it she has. But there's another value at work here. Love for her family, wanting to protect her brother.
So, what can I bring you, sweetheart?
Don't you dare talk to him like that. Now you get out of here.
So now Blanche is getting used to having a gay brother, but at the end of the episode, there are a few hints that she still has a ways to go. The girls are choosing a restaurant, and
Let's go to Jose's. We always go there to celebrate.
The food is great.
Yeah, and they make all the waiters wear these really skin-tight bullfighters pants.
Really?
Let's go to Emilio's.
okay, so Blanche doesn't want to think about her brother staring at men in tight pants over dinner. That's fair. But she's gonna have to get used to the idea of her brother having a sex life eventually. In fact, she has exactly 2 years, because that's when we get the season 6 episode, Sister of the Bride. Clayton has learned to be honest about who he is and to overcome his fear of rejection. Now it's Blanche's turn to do the same. In the 2 years since Clayton came out, she seems to have slid back into denial.
Dorothy, I think that gay thing was just a phase he was going through.
In fact, when he arrives for his visit this time, something new has been added.
This is Doug. He's my friend. My very special friend.
Well, any friend of Clay's.
Blanche is deeply afraid of people finding out about Clayton and his partner, Doug.
Are you crazy? What will the neighbors think if they see 2 men in my bedroom?
They'll think it's Tuesday.
And once again, Rose is oddly the voice of reason.
Blanche, I don't understand you. You can't very well say you've accepted Clayton unless you're willing to accept the fact that he dates.
Rose is right. And besides, Blanche, in this day and age, you should be thrilled that he's in a monogamous relationship.
But Blanche just can't get used to the idea.
What are people gonna say?
While Blanche spent the last 2 years convincing herself that Clayton isn't gay, he's clearly done a lot of growing. Honestly, it seems like his relationship is pretty great.
Blanche, we don't have to worry about what the world thinks about our relationship. It just doesn't matter because we're there for each other. I'd do anything for Doug, and he'd bend over backwards for me.
I know that bending over backwards is supposed to be sexual, but I just can't wrap my head around how it would actually work in the bedroom. Anyway, Clayton has one more surprise for Blanche, and listen to how the audience bursts into laughter at the news.
We're getting married.
Rose's reaction is more multifaceted.
Oh.
This aired in 1991, and at the time, oh, is how a lot of Americans felt about legal recognition for same-sex relationships. Just a few weeks before this episode aired, 3 couples in Hawaii filed a lawsuit in an attempt to get married, and the country freaked out. That lawsuit was the start of the modern marriage equality strategy that eventually won over 2 decades later. There had been prior lawsuits, but the Hawaii case in 91 was taken seriously like none before, and for a while, it looked like we might actually get marriage by the mid-90s. And then the Defense of Marriage Act happened in 1996, which banned marriage recognition and was only overturned in 2013. Just like the previous Clayton episode prompted millions of Americans to think about coming out, this one's prompting people to think about why same-sex couples might want to get married. It would be another 2 decades before America finally got nationwide marriage equality, but the early 90s were when the idea first gained serious consideration. And once again, a goofy sitcom about adorable little old ladies was out ahead of the issue. Americans were overwhelmingly opposed to marriage equality when this episode aired, and Blanche was among them.
I cannot believe what I just heard. I refuse to have any part of this.
Blanche is terrified of what people will say, and later at a banquet, she panics when someone almost finds out about her brother.
I'm Clayton, Blanche's brother. And this is Doug. He's my...
It wasn't long ago that Clayton was in a similar position, going to great lengths to hide who he was for fear of rejection. But in the 2 years between these episodes, he's moved past that, and it hurts that Blanche hasn't kept up.
What did you mean when you told me that you could accept my being gay? Did you mean it was okay so long as I was celibate? It was okay so long as I don't fall in love? Doug is a part of the family now, my family. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to be a part of my family.
That's a tough position. Either accept me or get out of my life, but it's the right one to take. And once again, the show's slipping in a message of queer empowerment, telling all the Claytons watching, you're in control, stand your ground, take pride in whom you love, and don't let anyone make you feel ashamed. If your family can't accept you, they don't deserve to have you in their lives. So now we come to the famous scene where Sophia completely changes Blanche's perspective on marriage in about 20 seconds.
Oh, look, I can accept the fact that he's gay, but why does he have to slip a ring on this guy's finger so the whole world will know?
Why did you marry George?
We loved each other. We wanted to make a lifetime commitment, wanted everybody to know.
That's what Doug and Clayton want, too. Everyone wants someone to grow old with, and shouldn't everyone have that chance?
That's it. So simple. 4 lines of dialogue. Sophia points out that what Clayton wants is exactly what Blanche wanted, and exactly what so many other people want. And remember, this episode aired just as people were starting to take marriage equality seriously. People were used to just laughing off the idea of 2 men getting married, but not for much longer. This is when Blanche begins to understand how Clayton feels, but she isn't sure how she feels.
Well, Clay, this is very difficult for me. I still can't say I understand what you're doing, but I do intend to try to respect your decision to do it. I want you to be happy.
That's not bad. Okay, so Blanche isn't about to march in a pride parade, although Rue McClanahan often did. What's so touching about this ending is that it's really not an ending at all. It's the start of Blanche finally doing the work she said she was going to do 2 years ago when Clayton came out. She's finally acknowledging that accepting her gay brother is going to be hard for her. It'll be a struggle, but she's going to work on it because she loves him. And that's a pretty accurate reflection of where America was at that point on LGBT issues. Unsure, awkward, with a lot of progress to make, but moving in the right direction. These 2 episodes are a perfect reflection of America's attitude on LGBT family, and Blanche reflects how a lot of Americans felt. In that first episode, coming out to straight people is a painful but necessary process, something Clayton needs to do to end decades of lies. When he does, Blanche at first refuses to believe that someone she thought she knew could be gay. It's only when she sees how alike they are, and that he's still a part of the family, that she warms to him. That's exactly where American public opinion was when the episode aired. Afraid that gay people were a threat, reluctant to accept them, that first episode reminds viewers that gay people are everywhere, that when they come out to you, they're still the same person. Then, in the second episode, Blanche once again stands in for American public opinion, this time on marriage. What used to be a joke is now real, and she cannot for the life of her understand why 2 gay men would want to get married. Similarly, in 1990, only around 25% of Americans supported the freedom to marry. There was a lot of work that had to be done to change those minds. Americans, and Blanche, weren't supportive of marriage equality yet, but they were open to change. And the 2 things that made that change happen were getting to know LGBT people and seeing them in relationships. Like, for example, on these 2 episodes. These episodes don't just reflect a change that was happening in America, they show how that change can happen. They gave viewers a roadmap to acceptance, and helped push Americans to experience the same growth as Blanche. Here we have a household of little old ladies, the sweetest and most old-fashioned people you can imagine, helping a man come out, then welcoming him and his husband, and promising to work on acceptance in the future. If these girls can do it, so can America. Well, we're pulling into port. Thanks for joining me, and thanks to everyone who makes the Culture Cruise possible with a pledge of $1 or more a month on Patreon. Folks like Gary Cannon. You can visit patreon.com/MattBaum or click the link in the description to help make the show possible. Let me know in the YouTube comments what culture you'd like to visit on future episodes, or tweet at me at Matt Baum. I read all the comments and I love to hear your thoughts. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to practice bending over backwards.